All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're unpacking the very beginning of Surah Al-Qasas, which is the 28th chapter of the Qur'an. And wow, these first few verses, they just drop you straight into this epic conflict. It's a powerful story about a tyrant's grip on power, a promise from God, and how the oppressed ultimately find their triumph.
So right off the bat, the whole narrative establishes its own authority. I mean, listen to that phrasing. It's not saying, here's a tale or once upon a time. It says, we recite to you in truth. This is presented as a direct, divine report, specifically for a people who believe. And that framing is absolutely crucial, right? It's telling you and me to listen up, because what's coming isn't just some historical account or a myth. It's a living, breathing reality with a deep purpose.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll touch on what makes Quranic stories, well, the best of stories. Then we'll get into Pharaoh's playbook for tyranny. After that, we'll see the divine promise that completely flips the script. We'll also do a little deep dive into the power of the specific words used, and finally, we'll see how it all leads to this incredible idea of the oppressed becoming the inheritors of the earth.
Right. Let's start with this first point, the best of stories. You know, to really get this, we have to look at how the Quran tells a story. It's not just about the plot. It's about the entire framework, and the text makes it super clear that this isn't your average storytelling.
So the chapter opens with this incredible title for the Quran itself, Al-Kitab Al-Mubin, or the clear book. Now the word mubin here, it's so much more than just clear. Think of it this way. It implies the book is kind of self-illuminating. Its verses don't just hand you a fact, they're designed to light up the truth so brightly that you can't help but see the difference between it and falsehood. It's all right there, self-evident.
And this idea builds right into another key concept, Ahsan al-Qasas, which literally means the best of stories. So what makes them the best? It's not just about being a good yarn. The idea here is that these narratives are the absolute peak of storytelling because they are 100% pure, uncorrupted truth. They represent reality, completely free of fiction, free of human mistakes, and they're told in the most perfect, powerful way to get a divine message across.
Okay, so now let's see this perfect story in action. The lens immediately zooms in on our antagonist, Pharaoh. And what we get isn't just a generic bad guy description. It's a cold, hard breakdown of the anatomy of his tyranny.
And this is where it all starts. The very first thing we're told about him is this. Pharaoh exalted himself in the land. The Arabic word here, ala, is so potent. It means to rise up high, to become arrogant, to see yourself as fundamentally superior to everyone else. This single act of self-exaltation is flagged as the root cause, the ground zero of all the corruption and tyranny that's about to unfold.
And the text lays out his strategy with this chilling precision. This wasn't just random acts of cruelty. No, this was a system. Look at the playbook. First, divide and conquer. He splits his people into factions, the word is shi'an, so they can't unite against him. Then, he zeroes in on a specific group to oppress, the children of Israel. And from there, the oppression gets brutally systematic. He slaughters their newborn sons, which is a way to destroy their future, and he spares the women, but only for servitude. The Quran gives this a name. It calls him one of the mufsideen, the corruptors. He's not just a criminal. He's someone who actively tears apart the very fabric of society.
So right when the description of this absolute tyranny hits its darkest point, the entire narrative just pivots. It's a dramatic turn. And the counterforce that's introduced, it's not a rebellion, it's not an army, it's something else entirely, the explicit stated will of God.
And this verse, this is really the theological heart of the whole passage. Right in the face of everything Pharaoh is doing, God's will is declared. And we want it. It's a direct counterstatement. And notice who that will is focused on. The very same people who were oppressed, the ones Pharaoh considered weak and worthless. This single line just completely flips the entire power dynamic on its head.
And this isn't just some vague wish. No, God's will is laid out like a strategic three-step plan. Step 1, to bestow favor, or namuna, to grant grace and blessings to those who have been weakened. Step 2, to make them leaders, or aima. This is amazing. Not just rulers, but leaders who guide. And finally, step 3, to make them inheritors. What a fiend. To give them stewardship over the exact same land where they were suffering. I mean, talk about a complete 180-degree reversal.
All right, to really appreciate what's happening here, we have to zoom in. I mean, really zoom in, down to the level of individual words. The specific Arabic choices here are just loaded with layers of meaning.
So let's ask this question. How does the language itself reveal these deeper layers?
Let's look at a couple of examples of how the word choice takes this from just a story to something, well, something much more profound. Okay, let's take the very first verb used in the story, netlu. We usually see it translated as we recite, but that doesn't quite capture it. The root of the word implies following something, like a trail or a thread. So it's not just a recitation, it's a careful, deliberate presentation that is meticulously tracing a line of truth. It's almost like watching reality itself unfold.
And then you have this phrase that goes with it, bil-haq. Again, you might think it just means truthfully, but it's so much deeper. Al-haq is actually one of the names of God, meaning the ultimate truth, the reality. So when the story is told bil-haq, it means it's not just fact-checked, it's fundamentally plugged into divine reality, into justice, into purpose. The story itself becomes a tool for establishing truth.
So we've got all these threads, right? We've got Pharaoh's tyranny, God's promise, and the incredible power packed into the language. So how do they all weave together? Well, they all point towards one final, absolutely inevitable conclusion.
And this really lays out the core conflict, doesn't it? It's a cosmic face-off. On one side, you have Pharaoh's goal: weaken, oppress, divide, all for the sake of his temporary grip on power. But on the other side, you have God's will: to bestow favor, to make them leaders, to make them inheritors. The narrative isn't presenting this as a fair fight. It's a clash between something fleeting and something eternal.
And the final outcome is just dripping with this profound divine irony. God's plan isn't just to rescue the oppressed, it's to put them in charge, and through them show Pharaoh and his whole crew the very thing they were terrified of all along. Think about it. The paranoia that drove him to commit those horrible acts, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The very people he feared become the very instrument of his downfall. It's an incredible twist.
So let's just leave it with this thought. By telling the story in this very specific way, as this meticulous, truthful unfolding of reality, the Qur'an is doing something powerful. It's framing the fight between oppression and justice not just as something that happened once, a long time ago. It's presenting it as a timeless pattern. So the question it leaves us with is this: if this is the divine pattern, what does that teach us about power, about hope, and about resilience? Right here,